Everybody, welcome to our session. This is called Empowering Collaboration Across the ADRF Community. What are we going to be doing here? What's this whole session about? So really, we're going to be talking and doing demos of some of the tools that we've been working to build for the ADRF to improve the user experience, improve data stewardship. But really what this session about is working together as all the users, data stewards, this kind of network to build and support a thriving ADRF user community. So we'll do an introduction to the Coleridge's User Community Project. We're going to do a spotlight on one of the webinar series that we've been running on coding best practices, which is specifically designed to provide ADRF users with just kind of knowledge about how to code more effectively in R, Python, SQL. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We're actually going to get into some demonstrations of getting Git and GitLab into the ADRF. And also we'll be talking about what Ahu introduced yesterday, the next stage in data stewardship, the Coleridge Pass. And then we'll have a Q&A. And also after this, we have lunch. I believe there's going to be box lunches out, but kind of want a conversation to go. A big theme of this is going to be about like the whole user community project is the idea that we're all building this kind of together. At Coleridge, we want to anticipate, what the needs are of users and data stewards and policymakers that are being, met with by the data stewards. But at the same time, the best way to actually know that is to get feedback from the user community. And so we are hoping that conversation continues. We'll have the room during lunch and people can definitely come back. So we'll start with just introductions. So I'm John Mills. I am the Vice President of Data Enclave Operations with Coleridge. My team, we're working on all of the cross-functional workflows that are required in getting data, people, and projects into and through the ADRF. I'll go ahead and hand it off for a brief introduction with our other panelists. So we've got Jeff Holtmeyer. Go ahead, Jeff, introduce yourself.
Does this work?
Yep.
Good morning. How are you? My name is Jeff Holtmeyer, Executive Chairman of Sonova Technologies, who is a partner with Coleridge to building this portal access. Appreciate you allowing me to be here. Don't ask any real technical questions of me. I'm going to point to him. I'm not that smart. Coleridge empowers government agencies to create value by enhancing data literacy, enabling them to develop better policies for public good. Our portal and other tools help facilitate collaborations within and across states, allowing the development of new technologies through secure access and sharing of confidential microdata. Through our collaboration with Coleridge, we're driving hopefully a fundamental shift in the public sector on how data is used to enable more informed and evidence-based policy actions. Our dashboard is designed as a simple wizard tool to efficiently manage operational workflows between agencies, data sets, agreements, and research projects. We value our partnership greatly with the Coleridge team and look forward to continuing our collaboration to further enhance the tools that provide seamless access to this critical data. And I thank you.
Okay, thanks. And we have Didem Tuzman. Can you introduce yourself, please? Oh, yeah.
Great, thank you. My name is Didem Tuzman. I'm a Vice President of Product and Development at Coleridge, and I'm part of the team with John and Katerina here that is running the Coding Best Practices series right now.
And Rich Ferguson.
Hey, my name is Rich Ferguson. I'm the Chief Technical Officer for Coleridge. That's it.
Great. So again, we're going to be getting to, we'll close out with a Q&A, and so we got great panelists here for your questions, but we also wanted to acknowledge the advisory board that's been supporting us on this user community project. Robert Magoo at Arkansas, Angie Tambari, KY Stats, Dante D'Antonio with Moody's, and then the dynamic duo of Ellie Hartman and Brian Hupst, who are at Wisconsin DWD. And let's jump into it. So first time trying this, before we even get started, I just kind of want to prime the audience and get a sense of you. You came to this panel, you saw the title. What does user community mean to you? So I believe that you can get a snapshot of the QR code, which now I realize is not very well positioned at the low end of the screen. And that will take you to Menti, and we're gonna jump into a little word cloud so we can start seeing what people think when they hear about user community. Okay, this is awesome. One, the tool is cool, but also the most frequent that we're seeing is collaboration. But I was also seeing best practices, knowledge sharing, having resources, and we're going to get into this. But again, like this is one of the things I'm really excited about with having Git and GitLab in the ADRF is just that ability to create. We need communication mechanisms. And you can't have collaboration if you're unable to communicate, and these are one of the things that we're working on here. So, back to this section. Okay, so first, let's introduce the User Community Project. So, User Community Project is something we're doing at Coleridge where the goal of this is basically to say, again, the users, both in terms of the users, the data stewards, you're the best source of information on how to improve this service that is here. Like when I came to Coleridge, a big drive for me was that we're not just a data enclave service. It's not just about data security. It's actually about things like this event. It's about like all the conversations that are happening and the connections that are happening. I think we all know if you're a data provider or a data user, one of the most important things is about establishing trust, getting over the risks and fears of sharing data. But like to do that, it requires trust, and that requires networks, and that requires people. And so while we have a nice technological tool, really I think the thing that just holds all this up is actually the relationships and the people. And so the User Community Project, we're trying to create avenues for knowledge sharing among users, but also from like the Coding Best Practices series, knowledge sharing of Coleridge, having worked with different groups and saying, oh, we actually have some resources that we could provide to you. Problem solving, not only, again, Coleridge being there, but more actually creating the ability for users to problem solve amongst each other. You don't have to recreate the wheel. That's a major theme, right? Like one state has an issue, other states have different versions of that issue, but there's a lot that can be gained by having communications across, and the same goes for researchers. And then, in general, enhancing the ADRF. Again, we want this to be more than just a secure data service or a place where you can log in and host your data and use it. User experience is a big thing for me as I come to this as a researcher. And one of the things that we're working hard on my team to do is really improve, among other things, just the onboarding experience, trying to reduce the barriers that it takes to just get in and start using the tool. Every time somebody hits a new barrier, it's like, well, that makes it just less likely that they're going to get and use it. So there's really great opportunity once you're in, but we want to streamline that. And again, getting feedback from you on how to do that is great because we're going to think about it from our direction, but why not just learn about the challenges and needs that you face? So I'm going to turn it over to Didem for a spotlight on the Coding Best Practices series.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have started this series last year. I believe it was fall. And the first one we had was a very general one. I don't know, here. So the first one we've had was very general on coding best practices for modern data analysis. So this was open to public, and we had a lot of people join us for this conversation. The next two ones that we held so far, it was close to the ADRF user community. The first one of those was on our studio version control in Git. And then we held this year SQL, dbeaver, and memory management. Now going back here, we are going to be adding more topics. We're going to be holding more webinars or interactive series. Because in the second and the third one, we really ask the audience to ask questions, be engaged. So as John is mentioning, the goal is to bring the users together and have them communicate. While during these meetings, we had our advisors and some of our staff at Coleridge talk about these topics and show examples and talk about coding best practices in these languages, we did receive a lot of question and feedback from the users, and there was communication within them during these interactive sessions. So we're hoping that that's gonna increase even more attendance will happen, and we're gonna be holding more series going forward. Now, after each of these meetings, we provided documentation and some videos in the ADRF. So they are available. If an ADRF user has missed the meeting, we have a video of that. Or if they want to see some follow-up documentation on the topic that was discussed, we have documentation available, or some videos on how to work with those languages within the ADRF. So we have a lot of tools that we're making available for the users. And yes, as I said, there will be more to come, so please stay tuned.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is an example.
And I have to apologize to everyone. I specifically told them to cue up the music at the end of the session. It's very fair. But yeah, as Dina was saying, a big thing here is the word interactive on the webinars. This is an example of just like one of the videos. This is on the publicly available. You can find it on our website at the Coding Best Practices for Modern Data Analysis. But then Ekaterina, our wonderful Ekaterina, who does not want to be pointed at right now and acknowledged, she's put together Git libraries so that users can have access to not only just like the materials in the lectures, but also like templates that you could use if you're facing certain problems. So that documentation is available into the ADRF. And again, this is just one of the efforts that we're doing in trying to make things easier for our users. So another primer, not a mentee, is just thinking about is like, so what are the things that come to mind and is things that are needed in general for creating thriving communities? Kind of like, what are the features of well-established communities? Think that they are having shared purpose and values among the users, which is nice, I think, in this effort. And again, like the energy of this whole conference is like, we all are here I think there's a strong mission alignment. So that's great. You need engagement and interaction. We saw collaboration, right, as one of the word cloud items, and you need support. And so we're going to start talking about some of the tools that we've been moving in to basically tackle the latter two bullet points. So engagement interactions, we're going to get into Git and GitLab. So I think I want to tell a story. And my story is that I've always had, since I came in, kind of that elevator conversation on Git, which Rich reminds me is it's actually like, don't just call it Git. Git is different things. GitLab is, and it's like, okay, great. So, so what is Git? Show of hands, how many people are familiar with Git? Fantastic. I guess that this presentation will be to myself. Okay, so Git is a version control system. GitLab is a platform. It's basically an aggregator. It's a place where Git can be used. You can have projects that you have, just like we showed on the screen earlier. It provides collaboration tools. What does GitLab look like? I just showed it. And so we're super clear. And that's going to be the ADRF. Okay, so there we go. Session concluded. So no, I mean, again, like GitLab and Git it's a version control system. If you're an ADRF user, you probably know that we already have version control available in the ADRF with SVN. So it's like, why is this something that is special? Git offers, it's not just version control. It allows for individuals on teams to work separately. It has a way to manage and collaborate separately, but then have actually like changes that people are working on separately. You can review and accept. It has a documented history of those changes, those recommendations. So it'll allow for people to share projects or share their work within a project. We also have, we'll also have permissioning. So like one of the things I did when I was trying to learn Git last Wednesday was I took our user guide and I completely rebuilt it in Markdown. In the morning, I literally was like, okay, I have my elevator conversation of Git. And then I learned, okay, and also GitLab. by the evening, I had taken our entire user guide and had created it in a series of markdowns, which I can show you. But it was basically, the big thing is now that can be shared with the entire ADRF community. So you can have your work projects, which are restricted and sharing within that. There can also be resource documents where people can come and you don't have to worry about like, oh great, we've got great information in the user guide that tells me how to connect to Redshift, and there's code, and how do I actually implement that in my system? I got to type it out? Great, fun stuff. So now you can actually have like the resources, making it easier for people to actually leverage the user guide and these other materials. So I'm going to hand it over to Rich, who is going to do just a quick demo of showing what Git is going to look like in the ADRF. This is just like that initial screen of showing, like, again, we got the ADRF user guide, what it looked like in Markdown, and what's going to be getting into the ADRF.
Okay,
So,
thanks. Man, yeah, I got a pound for you. Take this. Okay. Okay, so for the unveiling of this project, I want to thank Kate and Burjesh and John Kearns for doing all this. We're going to demo a lot of things today. This is one of the many things that we've been working on for the last few months. And hopefully this will work. Okay, you guys ever seen the movie Inception? We're going to go through a dream and a dream. We're going to go through some things there, okay? How many people recognize this screen, similar looking screen? So okay, just a few. See, okay. This is the ADRF, and we use Okta tiling to get us access. It's tiered. I've clicked on this. This is a special one for us in IT. We kind of get like a monster app stream session. I've clicked on it. It's now brought me to this, okay? So I'm now inside our ADRF. This is live. This is actual production live environment. I'm inside of there. This is coming up now instead of the old page. We're going to have that launched here in a little bit. And I have now logged into Git. The way you get to Git is on the browser, you just type in gitlab.adrf.net. If I do that, it's just going to take me to this other page. This is what's exciting for those total geeks out there. When I click on this, it's already federated, so it logs me in. You have to log in sometimes because we force logouts of it just for security purposes. Even though it's inside the ADRF, we're just doing good security. So, but once you log into it, it's federated. So it recognizes me, it's logged in as me, and I've got a project already out there. The difference between GitLab and GitHub is that GitHub calls them repos, GitLab calls them projects, but they're still repositories. Okay, I am logged in. I've got a USDA test here. Now, I'm going to create a new repo or a new project, and then I'm going to bring it down to my desktop so that I can do coding, okay? How do I do that? I've got my folder here that I'm going to bring it to, just it's empty, and I've got no project that I'm going to bring it down to. I have to create an SSH key for those geeks out there. I just go to my profile, and I click the SSH key, and then I can add it. How do I add it? I go to the Windows environment, and I use a certain command. This is in the documentation. It'll bring the key. I then open the key, copy it, and put it into GitLab. Now I've tied my workspace to GitLab in the global space, okay? All right, so what? That's great. I'm gonna go back to my repos. We're gonna create a project together. You guys are gonna help me name it. I can't believe these people are back there. I'm sorry. I can import a project. So if you already have a project that's in GitHub or GitLab, you can bring it in here. You have to bring it into an ingest piece. So this is great. I'm going to just create a blank project. And if you notice, I've got some options here. Right now, we're only authorizing private. And we are thinking about allowing it to be in a group. So you can actually add a group and then add the project to the group. Then you can add users to the group. They can see the project. This would be a project workspace. We got to be very careful here because this is iterating. So we're building the business rules as we go along. I'm just going to create a normal project. What do you guys want to call this? We'll just say CI so I don't have to type too much, okay? I'll create the project. And it's asked me, like you got SSO enabled. Do you want to use it? Probably not. There's a project. It already created a markdown file for me. How do I actually use Git? This is a great thing about GitLab is it kind of walks you through. It's a little bit more user-friendly. like I have my information, I've got my project. Now I want to edit this. Let's say I want to actually code it. I can code it live here. If I can go, it'll just bring up a web IDE and I can code live right there in Git, or I can bring the code down to my desktop like we talked about. I'm going to use SSH, and I'm going to go back out to my folder here, and I'm going to start a bash session locally, and I'm just going to go git clone. Now my SSH key should work if I could spell clone. Oops, I think I did too much. I'm sorry. Oh, didn't like that. Hold on one second. I'm going to go back out and copy this key because sometimes the ADRF does not copy stuff the way we'd like it to. So I'm going to go right here. And I'm going to git clone this. And it says, do you want to add this fingerprint, the local machine from, or the git a fingerprint onto your local machine? I'm going to say yes. I have to actually type in yes. Okay. And now I just pulled that data down to my folder. That whole project now is sitting right here, CI. I can upload now. If I added another folder or added any files, any code, I can do a git push, git add, git commit, git push. There's like 5 commands you need to learn. And then now that data is sitting in my repository. In the future, and this is important because I know I have very little time. In the future, we're going to have the IDE. We'll put Visual Studio Code inside the ADRF, and this will be tied directly. So when you do your git commits, it'll automatically update the code into the environment. Okay, so the question John and I are struggling with is how do we get the code out of the ADRF for you if you want it? We'll have to go through the export review the same way you would normally. That's the way we're thinking about doing it. We're open to the user community, and that's like something I would task you guys to come up with those business rules so that we can implement it through automation. So do you have any questions or subject to anything? We can do some at the end. Oh my God, I didn't realize we're gonna have questions. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Could we share repos across workspaces?
Yeah, that group, this piece right here is what the way John and I are, we're working this out. So the user community, the advisory, and our help is good. We can add a group right here, and we already have documentation group for the full documentation. You can create your own group, then add your repo there, private or public, but it'll only be for that group, and only those people in that group will be able to see it. So yes, you'll be able to do that. We just ask you, we got to be very careful. What's that?
Linkages or not?
It's tied to the user. We're making sure we're staying at that like the lower level, but that scares us a little bit because we don't want, one research team from one workspace unless it's approved, and that's to their data steward rules, of course, as you know. So
Yeah, I mean, all of this is built on trust, right? Like for myself, as a researcher, gaining access to data is huge. But the data providers and the rules of governance around those data is always, that's the gateway. As Rich said, pulling anything out of the ADRF, it's subject to the same type of review. It'll always be what are the disclosure review protocols, et cetera, and that will be what is kind of the barrier on the ability to share. And we have the ability to refine those kind of roles. So it's not just, like the big thing is, if you're a data provider here, I hope the takeaway is not, oh my gosh, some people's they could just share to anyone in the ADRF. No, they will not be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
We'll be able to restrict that. But in certain situations, or like if there's an easy one actually could be that the Coleridge team can serve as the moderators, and so it would still allow for the data steward interaction to allow, if the data stewards would like that, or it works with data governance to have sharing, will have that ability. So the default always is the project isolation, it always comes back to the data providers. These are their data, and we operate within their rules. And researchers are always very good about that because they know that that's their lifeblood.
Alicia, you have a question?
Yeah, this is just make sure I'm understanding. So when you were pulling up all those separate screens, that was still all within ADRF?
So this is ADRF. I'm in the ADRF.
Right, so when you're down saving it, that was within your ADRF?
It's to your local virtual work, right?
Your workspace. Yeah, project workspace.
Yep.
Anyway, this is a evolutionary jump, and we have a lot of business rules to work out. We're going to be very restricted at first to monitor, to edge into this, and then be very careful the way we implement it. Because like John said, there's no way to pull data out of the ADRF, put it in GitLab and share it. We're just sharing amongst yourself and then maybe your workspace people. That's all we're offering right now. And then but this time next year, I'm hoping this is very robust and we'll have like sample code we can show and things like that. So any questions or thoughts, comments before I hand it back over to Jonathan?
But I think we'll have time at the end.
Yeah, for sure. There you go, John.
Yep. Great. Okay. So like I said, as for myself, I'm a researcher. That's my training. That's kind of the hat that I always have is more from, I think of things from the user experience. And going back to slideshow. So when I was thinking about this and trying to say like, why is this helpful? Again, it's not just, it's like, yeah, we got SVN. It's like, oh, cool, another tool. But again, to me, it's a communication mechanism. It's a community mechanism. So just as an example, Rich was showing this, but I guess for me, maybe I'll say like, I'm going to put it on a 5th grader level or 5-year-old level or whatever the right phrase is. So I built the ADRF user guide in here. There's multiple pages, all that, right? And this is what it looks like. And I can also look at the code, the underlying code that is there. And then as Rich said, I can pull it down to a local. I'm doing this, on my own local because this is a demo, right? This one was not the ADRF. Also, you might see that it says GitHub. That's a different one. Don't worry about that. Let's stick at the high level. So here I'm actually working on that intro file on my local. So that would be on the local workspace, what the computer is. So I have Notepad++, I've opened it up and I say, I want to add some line of text to that document. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at support@coleridgeinitiative.org. So when this gets pushed up, an approved user, an admin, is going to see something like this, which is, oh, hey, did you know that someone has recommended making a change to the document? This is a simple one, and it's in green. It's saying, hey, are you sure you want to allow this to happen? And so I could say yes or no to that as an admin. But in this, I'm saying, oh, yeah, no, thank you. That's actually really helpful. I'm glad that you provided that. That's great. I would love to get that in. So we can push it, and then it shows up in that page now in the general project. So now I've just easily updated something. And again, and what I really think is, for me, with our with what Data Enclave Operations, what we're about, is that it's like what I want it to be, especially with the user guide, and why I want to get the user guide into the ADRF in a project like this, is that I want that to be the users that are recommending it. Like, we can think about what makes your experience easier. We have that hats because we've been the researchers, but the best people to know what could make your experience easier is you. And so we're trying to create a mechanism to allow that. So again, Git and GitLab represent our, we got version control, branching, merging, and all that. But what this really is a tool that's going to facilitate engagement interaction. That second bullet on what it takes to have a thriving community. Third bullet was support. So tell the story for those who have experience in the ADRF. There's been an evolution of data stewardship, or rather applications that we've had to try and improve the experience both of users, but also data stewards to do their job, to make things easier for them. It started out with the data stewardship app. We did an upgrade to what we call the management portal. And then the next step is Coleridge Pass, as Ahu mentioned, and we're gonna show you some of that. And again, this is a partnership between Sonova and Coleridge Initiative building this out. They've been really great to work with because they start with what's your need, and we're working together. This project is evolving, and it's the type of thing where you don't realize the assumptions you're making until you get those right questions. So what's going to be new in Coleridge Pass? To me, one of the biggest things, again, as a user, is one place to log in. You don't have to have a separate ADRF login. If you're doing something with the finance, you don't have to go over there. It's like we can have one place. So that should be much easier for people. We've been saying, getting Git integration in there. It improves our experience on streamlining our provisioning, so that should make things faster for users and also safer for data stewards. And then to me, this last one actually, again, I've talked to a few people. I feel like when I talk to the tech team, they're like, yeah, I don't really care about that. But to me, the biggest one is support tickets. I can do requests for support tickets in the management portal. I can see all the tickets I've had, and I can interact in that. And I'm going to demo that, is to show, like, I don't know about you, I'm a user and I work with teams, and we manage our support through Jira. People email our support and it creates a ticket. That's great. Automated system. If anyone here has done that before, as myself, it's like, great. I knew what the topic was. I come back to it in 2 days. I knew what the topic was. I received an email back. What was the ticket? I know I'm a ticket somewhere, but like I have to search for the right terms to actually find what I had sent in for support. So this is going to be like in one place. So let's get into it. This is the Coleridge Pass. And so right now you just see it as this tile here. But as I said, it's going to be a one-stop shop. You don't have to go into multiple places. You're going to basically, it will be a gateway with the ADRF. Here I'm impersonating a user right now, John Kearns 2. So he is a user on 2 projects we see here. This fact about impersonating is actually going to be really helpful, again, from a support side, because by impersonating a user, we can actually see what it is that they see. Think of like Facebook. It'd be like, okay, wait a second. If a random user is looking at my page, can they see? We all have the same ability to do this with support, so we don't have to make assumptions on what people are seeing. We can actually see what they're seeing and actually work with them. So I'm going to click on one of these projects. You can see usage. You'll be getting information on exports, other things, details, etc. Getting to see the hours, that's big, but I think, again, for people who have used the ADRF for a while, they know, well, that's available. Statistics are available in the management portal. They're available in data stewardship. This has been there. Again, to me, I think a real big improvement on the user experience is going to be that now you can go, and if you're dealing with an issue, instead of just emailing support and tracking down tickets, there's going to be at your dashboard, here are all the support issues that I have. What's the status on those things? I can create a support ticket. Need courage. I'm an introvert. And I'm doing a presentation. Help. And so I'm going to go ahead and create that ticket. And we're going to see what happens. So the ticket gets created. This is basically, so we have our Jira interface. That's what's actually managing this, right? So if you've been in Jira, you would see it looks somewhat familiar. But yeah, so I've sent this out to my support team just to see if I can get some support. And I believe they're working on the support. It is happening.
Come on, Jordan.
Cool. And do a quick refresh. And I got you. Cool. So we'll actually have, again, like, when I've talked to other people, it's like, and then support all in one place. And it's like, yeah, but I'm a researcher. And it's like, man, I can figure out all of the like special tracks I got to do to make sure I can get my project done. But it'd be great if it can be streamlined. I think I was talking earlier with someone today, and it's like, my brain just thinks about this. From A to B, this is the path. If you talk to me, you'll see that happens. Yeah. And I need my team around me to say, that's great, we needed that. You connected A to B. It can be streamlined. And that's what we're trying to do here, is just ease up the user experience. Now, another thing is that different views or different roles are going to have different views. So that was a user. I'm stepping back now. I'm stopping to impersonate the user, and now I am a Coleridge admin. In between this would be data stewards, or like the data providers, and being able to see more information at an aggregate level on how things are being used. And you'll be able to actually see things like, what's the support ticket situation? How is this being managed? So here I've got a ton more projects because I'm a Coleridge admin. I can look at all of the support tickets that I have been assigned that I'm supposed to work on. I can interact with those support tickets when I'm in there. I can do project requests. That means like creating a new project. We'll be able to go here and create things. But also the authorized data stewards can go here and create the request to do a project. So they won't have the same functionality as a full Coleridge admin, but they'll actually be able to go in here and initiate a project as opposed to either doing that through an email communication or some of the forms that we've built out. It'll be, again, in one place. And so if there's that one takeaway here, it's trying to make things easier by making it a one-stop shop, by removing all of the little humps that you have to jump through or hoops that you got to jump through to actually get your work done. And then another part of this update is that, and I think this isn't just like a soon-to-come future phase, is that the Coleridge Pass sits outside of the ADRF. So it's aggregate statistics, right? It's about usage and it'll be role-based and all of that. But also there's going to be that same thing in the ADRF, which, you already know, you log in the ADRF, you can see like, oh, okay, here's the getting started in the ADRF page, and this is going to be the dashboard that you see within the ADRF. Rich had the really good, I think, insight to, it's got a red color versus a purple. It's basically saying, hey, you are in a sensitive space right now. You'll be able to do, we've been working really hard on updating. The big thing that's going to come out of this is going to be an updated export experience. This is going to be something that's going to improve both the experience of the users. They'll be able to see similar, like a queue, everything, where is it, which they can see right now, but it's going to be a better user interface. But then I think the big thing here is going to be for data stewards. Do we have data stewards in the room or export reviewers in the room? Okay, well, they exist, and their job is hard. So, like, one of the simple things is that, if they're working across a lot of environments, they have to log into those environments and find thing. This is going to allow them to do their review. They'll actually see kind of the status of everything in one place. Again, just trying to make it easier. There will be the approved individuals. It's not going, like, they will be approved to see everything that they can, but it's just going to have to be, I don't have to remember how to get into all these different places. I just need to remember this one login, and it's right there when I log in. So again, and there's more things to come, interactive dashboard capabilities, getting that moved into this platform. So the export requests, Rich had a presentation early on AI, and then some more information or more work on streamlining user provisioning. Whoops, I don't know why I shouldn't have done that. But now, so we got our demo, and good, awesome. We actually have 15 minutes. And yes, and so what we want to do here is this is going to be the Q&A, right? You've got the group here, and we've also got Coleridge folks sprinkled throughout. We were really lucky as I think it's been stated, this is our 5-year celebration, and we actually have all the Coleridge team here. So you've got people here, like on our finance team, on accounting. We've got tech team here that don't always come to the convening. One of the things that was exciting to me about them getting to come here is like, you're the workhorses, and you don't get to experience kind of the energy and like how people are using it. So it's like, go in and see the use cases. And then also it's like, yeah, and make, I just make the connection. Like, oh, like I remember, who was it? Stephanie at New Jersey came up, and I was talking to Jordan, and she said, and Jordan introduced himself, and she's like, oh yeah, no, I've seen your name a lot. I didn't have a face. So again, a lot of this is about, I really think that this isn't just a secure data system. It is about building a network. It's about people, and it's about trust. And that's what we're trying to do with this effort. And so let's hand it back over to you for your questions. We got another Menti that we can bring up if you want to do a word cloud as a percolator. And I don't need to upgrade. And so we can get that up. But like I said, it should be the same. It should be on the same Menti. If there's an issue, I can bring it up. But if you want to start tossing ideas up there, that's great. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and I want to hand it over to the audience. First, though, I want to see if there's any additional comments from our presenters that you'd like to talk about with all these efforts.
I would just say any other ideas that you might have to improve the dashboard was helpful as well for us. We're going to be collaborating closely with the Coleridge team going forward basis to continually add new features and capabilities.
Also should be mentioned that Jeff, they're partnering with us. Number the sponsor here as well, and without their team, his team is able to adjust to our requirements unbelievably well, very innovative. We have a guy named Thomas who's on his team who's one of the best innovators I've been around, and we're very lucky to have them. So if you see features or functions that you think, wow, this would be really novel, or what do you guys do here? We'd really like to know, because we have a great team currently to do these iterations. So,
yeah, it's a similar type of effort. I was just in the session on data governance, infrastructure issues, and I think the big thing that came up still is like a lot of this is about trust. It's about building relationships. It's about educating to get over some of these issues. And that takes time. And what's been great about working with Sonova is because we've worked with other, we've had other tools that we've worked to develop. It all started with kind of like, what are your needs? And the project has evolved. We do agile project management. That's been great. I've taken kind of the lessons from them and started implementing it with my team on trying to improve our workflows. So it just comes back to that theme of like, and it's the broader theme of the conference is what all is being done here is that this is actually like, this is not about the ADRF. It's not about Coleridge. It's about the entire community that's out here. And that's the point of this user community project. So I'd like to open it up to your questions. And we're seeing things coming through. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, Katie.
This is more of an answer to this question that fit in this whole talk. I feel like there's a lot of unknowns of ADRF users, and I'm pretty nosy and will like look through DBeaver and be like, I wonder what people are doing with all these data sets. So I think it'd just be cool to like understand the work that people are doing, have like a compendium of research, maybe a directory of data sets, be like, maybe I'll try to negotiate an agreement with that data owner because that's in here already.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the community too. This is USDA has been a great partner with us, and one of the big things again when I put myself like a hat of the data provider is I'm working to provide the data, but I also like my job is to provide access to the data, but I also got to report on that, and I want to be able to say what has come out of this, right? And as a researcher, like one of my draws in coming to Coleridge, I'm an ed policy researcher, so I had at my previous job, among other things, I was in charge of the cold room. I'm just not going to worry about that right now. I was in charge of the cold room where this secure data had to be stored. So I had to get the license. They sent us disks with the data. It was on a computer. I could only have people who had been on the restricted use data license actually come into my office. If I had to have another meeting, I would walk out of the office because it was like that happened to be, we had only so much office space. So that's what it was. And I would have my students come in and they were saying like, oh, cool, I got the data, I got my project. I know that I got to use weights. I just don't know which one to use. And my answer would be, have you read the documentation? And, thinking like, oh, they just didn't look it up. And they say, yeah, here's the code book. And it's like, great, there's 50 weights. There's 50 things called weight in there. I don't know. And the description of the weight was basically what it was, not how you would use it. And so in that environment, it was, how do you find out about how to do that? And I'd have to tell my students, you gotta scrounge across the internet and find, hopefully someone else has used these data. Hopefully someone else has used these data in a similar context, and they actually documented the data, and they actually said, we use this specific weight, and that would be great, like if you got that. And if they didn't, but you know that they use the data, maybe email them and like try and establish a connection. And it's like, wouldn't it be great instead to have knowledge sharing within this environment, but in a way that is still subject to the boundaries of data governance? So can we create a data catalog? Yes and no. It depends on the data, on the data providers. And then it's about like saying, okay, like, do you want to have, what's the scope of how, to whom this data catalog would be available? But then, I'd love to have basically, a thing I've been wanting to work on for a while is how do you incentivize researchers to say, I wrote this paper? As a researcher, it's like, hey, it never hurts to market that I've got this paper out there, right? And then it's good for me I want to interact with people. I want to provide advice because I get what you give is what you get back. This is actually another thing that potentially where Git can help is, it's still about a community and a culture requires behaviors, and that's human behaviors, and that's challenging. And I think that's one of the big things about all of these efforts is you need those champions that actually get in and do something. But you could now put that, like if it's approved, maybe it was an export that was already approved, and you get in and say, hey, I just want to put this in a repository of the paper that I wrote. So at least someone can have a sense of, well, it's available online. Again, if the data governance allows for that, we're not going to do anything that's outside of what a data provider wants, but it's just going to make it easier, hopefully, to start generating this community. Yeah, Dave?
Another suggestion. What about doing things like, well, so I'll go to the convening and there will be all these presentations, all this cool stuff is happening, and I'll kind of take notes of it and think about it. But what about more like regular, just kind of like an hour a month or something, just kind of like open mic or like show and tell kind of sessions where people sign up, they got like 5 minutes to do a little quick presentation on something they're working on and just be like, here's my contact info, reach out to me if you want to learn more, and everyone's kind of just got a chance to kind of sell what they're working on in those sessions.
Yes.
I like it because, like I'm driving our team, I'm not driving too hard, but Kate sitting right next to you would be like the advocate for this. So we do like a monthly webinar or quarterly webinar where we show the technology stack and how we're improving it. Or maybe for the FedRAMP session earlier, how we're handling the FedRAMP with new requirements or the big change in administration. That's all very important to people. I would love to do that because it's a forcing function for us to get, hey, we need to get this done as a technique to get development done. You know, like as long as you guys are okay with, like I have a saying, if you're not embarrassed, you waited too long. So, because we're trying to iterate, we don't know the answer. You know, no one realized they needed Google Home until they're in their hotel room asking for Google what the weather is. And you're like, I didn't need this, but now I can't live without it. It's that iteration, that evolution of like ebb and flow branch and SQL and making things happen. And if we have a quarterly meeting and we're like validating against you guys, like we're going to do this with USDA a lot more with the features that we're adding. Like, yeah, we want to know what your thoughts are so that we go, well, this may not be something we thought it would be something they wanted, but yeah, that would be great. It would be a great add. So we'll take that down as a recommendation.
Yeah, I think I could both work for like Coleridge to kind of announce to the user community what they're working on, but also just be like a venue for the users to have
Hey,
questions.
We're embarrassed. This is good, right? Like we misspelled the word portal or something. You know, like you know what I mean? Like that's what we want. We want to break things and like without ruining security and data.
Yeah. But I mean, it can still be basically, I mean, I love this idea. It's like another thing that I was involved with for a long time and thankfully has been handed off to DDEM so that it actually gets organized is democratizing our data challenge. And basically this effort is working with kind of linking both external funders and project teams to create data products that actually show why it is worth going through all the effort to go through, like, I mean, I think everybody in the room knows that, like, man, data sharing agreements are tough. It's a lot harder when it has multiple in front of it, right? Figuring out some state, you got to meet states where they are, got to meet data providers where they are, and they might not. It's like often it's like, well, look, we've been concerned about security. We don't want disclosure to happen, but we need advice on what are appropriate disclosure rules. But the big thing is I think and through the democratizing your data challenge, we've had, well, I mean, I always go back to Angie as like, boom, that's an awesome one. Angie's at KY Stats. This is apocryphal, so it might be a little bit off, right? But KY Stats, they participated in an ADA training a long time ago, and out of that training came what's called the multi-state post-secondary report. This is a dashboard that looks at post-secondary migrations. It links up multiple states to say, here are the graduates from my state, and then linking it with workforce from other states, which, for me as an ed researcher, it was always like, brain drain is always a big concern. It's basically for policymakers. Are we giving scholarships locally and then, kids just go off to their grad school and they never come back? But this allows for that. And then in the Democratizing Your Data Challenge, there was an extension for Virginia, New Jersey, and Rhode Island